And it's match point already for Ion in this lower bracket best of 3 elimination game. They played this time last night. They got pretty much stomped, for lack of a better term there, Telly, by Grand Zero, the favorites. But they come into this one with a game plan. And look, certain champions were denied away, but they got it across the finishing line.
Yeah, and you know, talking about this is going to be the same sides, right, for both teams, and I think that there's going to be probably quite a few change-ups. And you know, the nice thing about teams playing on the same sides in best of series is the fact that you can run back what you thought was right and then replace what you thought was an error, right? So, you know, if that is going to be like a replacement for the Ashe, or we might see Jovi picking his champion in the first 3 rather than dropping just because of the potential chance that he does get banned out, and the Corki being locked in means that is the case.
So it does mean it's the case. You know, the bans are mirrored, exactly the same. No changes there from game number 1. But they did have this option last time, right? It was, do you want to go for Corki, Ezreal, or the Rumble? They said, you know what, we'll go for the Corki. And I think that's going to mean that Jovi is going to be back to his best. They're still going to lock with the Sejuani is the Direwolves. Still the potential for that to be flexed between lanes. But the Orianna response is going to be how Direwolves want to approach it.
I really think giving this Ezreal over to Styx is such a mistake. You know, he looks so proficient on this champion, especially compared to what we've seen him play, you know, when it comes to other champions. He just doesn't have that same impact on you know, other champions. When he locks in that Ezreal, he is playing, you know, he's getting priority, he's taking over these team fights completely, and he just feels so comfortable on the champion. And even Hexflash looks completely different, pairing that up with the Leona on the bot side. So is it going to be the Rumble or is it going to be the Ezreal scheme? Which one do they prioritize more?
Well, this seems like the internal conflict right now. Do you want to go for one of the premier bot lane combos of Leona and Ezreal and just run away with it again because you're so mobile? Or do you want to lock in something else that's incredibly strong?
Oh.
You know what? Forget it. Lock in nothing. Coley says it's back to AP and he goes on his Nidalee.
Oh, okay. So going for the Nidalee, but you know, they do not have the solo lane pairing or the CC lockdown that we see so far. Could be a Camille coming out later on, or even the Renekton, but they do have the Leona, so that's a very good champ to pair up with the Nidalee, and something that can match that early game skirmishing that the Sejuani has. But if there is, you know, this Sejuani does go to the top side, there is something like a Xin Zhao locked in. That is the scary matchup to nearly deal with, right? And it's also very hard to deal with when a Xin Zhao with an Orianna ball jumps on top of you. And, you know, you have that glacial, you know, passive to lock you down. I think I would much rather see the Sejuani go to the top side and, you know, Direwolves banned for that matchup.
Yeah, and give yourself extra ways to, you know, shred these people down. Just an abundance of frontline to make sure that Ketsuri is protected, because he is going to go for the Ashe again. Not opting for any kind of mobility, just wants more and more of that engaged threat. And he's going to say, well, if you're not going to lock in the Ezreal, we're going to simply ban it away. They do have the opportunity then to obviously ban away Rumble on top of that. But the defensive options are not a priority here from Ion, and Braum being good to Leona makes a lot of sense.
Skimmy, I've seen the angle. Ezreal's
What's
gone.
the angle?
Ori and Ashe are mobile champions. It's time for Ziggs. It has to be time for Ziggs. If there was ever an angle to pull out Ziggs' AD carry, this is it. You know, Nidalee isn't really a champ who functions too well as that sole AP carry. You really have to be Canyon, right, to be able to do that. But unfortunately, Canyon's not here, no. He's too busy winning, you know, many titles. So I think that is completely fine to play Nidalee alongside, you know, a really strong AP carry like the Ziggs. So if it is going to come out in the bot side, we might see Hexflash having the ability to roam. Even playing to the Ziggs is something you can do as well, because it is a champ that does a lot of damage in the early game with setup.
Yeah, the Ezreal and the Ziggs very much function similar, right? Where you can leave them be very self-sufficient. They banned that, obviously, and they banned the Jhin too that he played last night, in terms of giving them those range mismatches. But it doesn't feel like Jhin is a pick again for what we saw in game 1, where everybody's going at one another. I'm sure Jhin doesn't really fit the bill. They are going to say, though, for the side of Direwolves, we need more dive, more engage, more ways to create some of that chaos. And Rel is going to be that. And it feels like we are going further and further into 4 tanks, 1 carry. Watch what Ketsuri can do.
Yeah, they're holding that flex again all the way down the line, so have to see where is it going to go. Is it going to be that, you know, Xin Zhao in the jungle or something like the Lee Sin, or is it just going to be a classic Xin in the jungle, another, you know, counter pick in the top side? But I think I would much rather prefer to have Chang'e on the Sejuani, which he has looked so strong in solo queue if anyone like sees him play. If he gets a good matchup, I would way rather, especially for that mid-jungle pairing, see that Xin Zhao or the 80, you know, counterpart come out.
Isn't going to take the call, though, of that Ziggs. It's going to go for the Zeri. I guess it does make sense, given that you want that, you know, double AD carry set up for those Nidalee heals to empower. That attack speed steroid is this absurd. They will then lock in the Renekton to round it all out to give them that strength of a Nidalee and a Renekton. That can be an absolute lane menace. Now, the final reveal. What is it that the Direwolves want to utilize to bring it all together while Shinky trolls us with every champion under the sun? It's a Nocturne.
Okay. So, you know, the nice thing about Nocturne, extremely strong early game champ, right? It's so hard to deal with this as Nidalee. If he does find that, initial tether on you, he can follow that up with the flash, and most of the time, you will die in that fear combo, right? And Nocturne is a champ that's really good at, turning the lights out. Flash, Rel engage, Glacial, the Sejuani ult that comes out of Fog of War, very hard to deal with. So really good champion competitive, not because of what it does to the game state, but the fact you can turn the lights out, and it just makes the team fights much harder to navigate. But there is a lot of mobility on the Ion side, and that's when, Nocturne really struggles, because he can't just, ult onto something like an Ashe and just take them out in the 1v1. But this time it's going to be a Corki and a Zeri, a Pellet with a Nidalee heal. Very hard to deal with.
And it's going to be even more hard, right? Because you'll be thinking, okay, they have no flash, easy target for me to go against. But say, for example, we're just holding it down in the mid lane, looking to try and get control. If there's a wall, if you're playing it quite nicely, yeah, sure, you jumped on me. If you've got no flash to follow, I'm just jumping out of there and you've got nothing to do. You're overextended. It's almost like the Leona syndrome. You're like, I'm so far in. We've got to win this fight now. But it does feel like Dai also said Ashe wasn't the issue. We just didn't simply have enough threats to make sure that when we went in, we could get the kill. And I think the biggest evidence of that was around the Baron pit, right? When we saw the Ashe ult, the Glacial Prison, chucked at Jovi, and he just got to stand still.
Yeah, I think that the Ashe wasn't the problem, right? It was just the draft in itself. It's because you were enabling Ashe to really carry that game. But, it's so easy for the enemy team to kill that immobile AD carry with point-and-click lockdown like the Vi and the Equalizer coming out of Rumble. So this time, they, get the carry in the jungle from the Nocturne. They have Orianna, a champ who can, create a lot of space. So it's going to be a slower, more methodical team fight look with, like, the engages coming out and then, like, a shockwave. Kind of like a, like a flow of effect when it comes to these team fights. So you're not going to see just the complete wombo combo one-shot unless Emphis does get insanely fed and one-shot these players.
Well, I love how we're having such a serious moment here, drumming up the excitement, getting everybody ready to know that Iron are on match point and Direwolves are staring down the barrel of an elimination. And then the observers say, look at this, Tally. It's your favorite time looking at a Corki skin.
They never learn, Simi, do they? They never learn.
They never learn. They clearly don't watch. They clearly don't hear your cries, your please change the skin.
And we're not even seeing Skinergy come out as teams recently, and I think that's such a big deal. I want to call teams out. If anyone is listening right now, it is a very underrated look. When you load into the Rift and you see the enemy team, all have a blue chroma on, you're like, well, those guys are locked in. That's scary, okay? But all of a sudden, no Skinergy happening at all. But Emphis might be getting caught out and chunked a bit by Jovi here.
Certainly could be. He's got the orb down, hoping to give him the vision. Oh, well, there it is. Surprise, surprise. I know exactly where you are. You can hit me with the Gatling gun. And, okay, look, it hurts. Fair enough. I've scattered you out, but you've hurt me more in retaliation. I'll concede it on this occasion. You can see in the player cams, both of them having a little bit of a laugh about that one. But it should help Jovi out for the meantime to start things off here. And I am, quite curious to see how this game does pan out, because as what you've usually seen with a Nocturne, rush level 6 as quickly as you can, and that first paranoia, if it gets some action accomplished, mid-game belongs to you.
It's so important that Emphis right now baits an auto-attack onto him while he's inside the creep. He needs the creeps to auto-attack Jovi to, force that wave push to come into him and make sure that he does get chunked out. So, he is going to be able to salvage this lane a bit because it is pushing towards him. But when you verse Corki versus these really strong level 1 mages, it's so important to walk in with your creep wave. And even though you might get out-traded on that initial, level 1 trade, the minions will push towards you because he is drawing creep aggro inside your wave.
Really interesting to see just how much work this Zeri can get accomplished, because we know just how weak the champion can be, and if he gets the kill early, it becomes a bit of an issue. You can see that Shinky was the one to try and start up that fight with the flash engage, proc the ignite, and then realize, hang on a minute, I'm in a bit of trouble myself, so he's forced to run for the hills. They're still going to get the push, still hit level 2 first, but have missed their little early opportunity to try and get some kills in their favor.
And there's the hawk shot to spot Collie out again. Same thing that we saw in game 1. They're going to be able to track that Nidalee and know where he is parting. You spot him with that red buff. Know that both junglers are parting to the top side right now, but Mayfun just a bit clearer, a bit faster on the clear. So see if Collie does want to go for a bait on the top side. He is pinging that red buff right now. He wants to fight, especially with the priority happening on both solo lanes.
And look at that wall just literally timing out now, so I don't know if they feel that Collie is in the area. Well, they certainly do know now. There goes the Shadowed Path. Spear not to connect, the Tether not wanting to be utilized. As Collie just walks into the jungle, says, yep, that red buff will be mine. Jovi's been bullying out your mid laner. You're not here to protect. Doraemon says, I want to be a part of this action. Even he's getting told, no, what? Yeah, we'll let them have one objective, one little camp for themselves. This red buff far more important.
Very, very easy to pick up when you have so much priority right now. This is just, Corki going to get natural priority over the Orianna in the early game, or AD carries in general, just much better push control than mages. But Mayfun walking in.
Mayfun didn't know that one was happening, walks into the enemy tri-bush, and it's simply going to fall on down, one auto attack in a dream, it's not to be found! 80 HP at the end,
red buff.
A swipe away from afar, and Chungy on his laning Sejuani gets to show us why it's been feared.
What a disaster, Skivvy. They thought they found Mayfan, they set up a trap for him, but they didn't have enough damage, and we see more trading happening on the bot side, and very surprising that we are seeing the Zeri get control of this bot lane in the early game, because, you know, this champ, extremely weak, right? It's so hard to deal with, match up to the damage that, you know, a press the attack AD carry can do, but just snowballed based off the, you know, the poor level 1 trade that Dials did initiate it. But going into the replay, we see Mayfan walk in, does spell shield that, you know, initial Q coming out Italy, so that's the main damage he does avoid, but the stun lands, just not enough damage on that last auto attack, and even if he did find that, there's still going to be Chungy fighting a 1 kill in trade at least.
And he certainly is going to be very happy with how things have played out this far, so early on. I'm quite curious to see what build he does decide to go for, right? Whether or not it be the traditional tank build, which I would imagine be the case, given that he's gone for the Grasp rune, as opposed to the comment if you're more about that AP life. Hexflash here going to get caught out in his own side of the jungle by Mayfan, and nothing really is going to happen, right? Gets feared, gets tickled, and says, you know what, back to my side.
Yeah, waiting for his camps to spawn, so just doing a little bit of human warding there for his mid laner to make sure that they are spawning that one come out of the base. And this is a very, you know, reminiscent look on the mid lane of what we saw last time these teams versus each other, right? We saw the Corki into the Orianna and how much control Jovi had on that matchup. So Emphis does have that teleport, still gonna be able to come back to lane with the buy, and he needs to be able to create, you know, some semblance of control as he gets that level 5, level 7 range on the Orianna.
And he certainly does. Yet again, another expert opinion, this time coming from Lemus at a Grand Zero, believing that he thinks, yep, Iron should also get the perfect 2-0. They will certainly have shown some very strong individual performances, but it has been their drafting that has been their downfall. This draft, though, you would say, Tally, a lot better, a lot much of an improvement over what they did very similar in Game 1. Yeah,
it covers a lot more bases this time. You know, last time we saw Dai was going for a very high skill stealing draft where they have, you know, those 3 lanes of priority. They want to create the advantage with their jungle, but it doesn't really matter if Sejuani gets ahead of the counterpart because you can't really carry the game, right? It's so important for... almost a kill scheme.
I love it, eh? There's nothing better than you just switch off and start making sounds because everyone knows, whoa, whoa, yo, whoa, whoa. But you all know what it means. We're all getting hyped, we're all getting excited, and we're just waiting, just patiently waiting for that first big skirmish of the game.
Yeah, and you know, the enemy team was caught doing Dragon. You see Chungy does hit the predict here with his ult onto Jovi.
Can he find the kill though? He's got so much damage with that base passive and the base ignite coming on through and just really in your face, catching you off guard. And this is all before he could respond. And that once again, is that key to victory. Shut down Jovi and the game becomes a lot easier.
Maybe they're listening, Skimmy, because, you know, it does seem to be working. Jovi, very good in his individual 1v1s, but a player who's quite susceptible to dying, right? You know, most of the time by his own hands, not due to ganks, because he is someone who really wants to go for those splashy plays and take care of these team fights. But this time, you know, Chungy using his priority that he garnered from that earlier skirmish, getting him that double kill gives him the, you know, power to push out the Renekton, uses that control to walk down to the mid lane, which secures them the dragon that they were going for, and finds himself that kill onto the mid laner.
See there, Hexflash on a wide flank. Only level 4 though, so no concerns about any kind of solar flare action to force out a cleanse. Not that it was available for Katsuri that has no summoners available at this stage of the game, but it is going to be Iron one more time. Just saying, you know what, these grubs, you just don't seem to be interested in them. And Nocturne, one of the premier junglers that clearing that camp.
See, they're going to walk it on mid. It's very hard to gank this. The main problem with Corki is that he can always just throw out that Valkyrie, and you need him to be, you know, pretty much face checking you to get any gank pressure onto him, especially when you do not have access to that ult at this stage of the game. But Chungy walking down, going to find Coley, soloing out the grubs.
He just walks in. He just walks in and chomps it for himself. I mean, it's just Nunu gameplay at your finest right there, so you can't have all 3. I'll take one for the roads. And on this occasion, Iron will be denied that perfect 6-stack dream.
So level 6 secured for the Nocturne now. Have to see where he does want to attack though, because you look at the you know, the summoner spells of Ion, every single flash minus the Nidalee and the Leonis is available. So those main carries that you want to shut down in the Corki and the Zeri do have ways to navigate Harding Edge coming out of, you know, a potential Rel level 6 or the Shockwave out of Emphis in the mid lane. So might see a lot more grouping up coming out of the jungle support because they really need to combo out to look down these kills. I do not think Nocturne by himself has the ability to take down the champs.
Even more so because he's just been sitting on vision for the last 30 seconds, fully aware that our Ion and the Pinsu is going to come across. Out goes the Paranoia, but it's one to disengage, not one to find a kill. And that's an absolute disaster there because Jovi just gets to pepper you down from afar and say, well, now that I know that one's a miss, I can do even more bullying onto Emphis. Then a Valkyrie to dodge out from a potential second jungler gank as Chungy wants to make 3 kills, then become 4. But the guy's running the gauntlet. He's dodging everything, and with the cull, he's saying, I am going to scale to oblivion.
Yeah, a very, very scary concept when the Corki does get to scale, but Emphis deciding not to extend that trade or not commit the shockwave when he knew that Chungi was roaming down from topside. There could have been a potential kill they found onto the Corki if they comboed up that CC, but use that Valkyrie to escape on Jovi's side, make sure he gets out of that one safely, and Chungi constantly using his priority to impact the map. You know, he's not committing his ults onto his lane to create these, you know, winning trades where we see the Sejuani tops using their ult to proc that passive twice and do so much damage in these 1v1s to create lane priority and play for those solo kills, but this is competitive, so you want to use your control to impact the rest of the map to make sure the rest of your team is doing well. And one of the, you know, major keys to victory for Dire was to make sure that Emphis was able to get through that laning phase against Jovi and get to the mid game.
Yeah, it's really made it a case of 3 kills going away of Direwolves. We found ourselves the first dragon, and it almost feels a case of we've mirrored the playstyle yet again. That is our focus. That's what we want, and we're going to really bully the fact that this Zeri is going to be so weak. And you can't do much about that fact. Up by 15 CS at this stage, Katsuri really has been given the keys in which multiple damage threats that can stand in front of him, turn out the lights and prevent any kind of counter dive that you might be seeing in from like a Renekton or a Nidalee. Still very early days and still only a 1k lead that will favor the Wolfpack 10 minutes into this game. But you are wondering what they're going to look to find next, because so many times we've seen, especially from the mid lane, Jovi's hunting for that solo kill.
Yeah, and he gets it. This is one of the nice things about Core. You get to itemize defensively in the Merc Trace and a Ruby Crystal, but Chungi being caught on the top side, no flash.
Certainly Kez a bit of a situation here, having judged away already. It's not going to be enough. In comes the Paranoid, turns it around underneath the tower again. Sadane. So don't tell me the same outcome occurs one more time. He's now 4-1, picking up one to the grave, but Mayfan, right time, right place.
Once again, you know, that if you saw the timer on the Nocturne ult, that one just ticked off cooldown for him to find himself that double kill pickup. So, you know, something I was going to mention when it comes to both Nidalee and Nocturne is, you know, you think about Nocturne, if he does not secure kills, or if that first ult, that second ult do not find any kills, most of the time that champ just falls off and becomes irrelevant, right? But then his counterpart is Nidalee, a champion who also needs to snowball, and this was his chance. They found Chungi up in the river, they blocked out the escape, you know, that Q, his only gap close to get out of this gank, but once again, just an overcommittal, and both these, you know, champs who need to get ahead in the early game, Renekton and Nidalee, fall down.
And it feels pretty rough when one of the best 2v2s from the top half of the map in a Nidalee and a Renekton is losing. It's pretty rough to think, okay, well, how do we now become relevant? Because both, you'd say, both top halves need to snowball ahead, and very rare that you do see both then come out ahead as a result of that one. So results are starting to be utilized elsewhere now. Coley playing towards the bottom half of the map. Dragon is up and available. Now it looks like Iron are making sure that this time they don't have to wait for a soul point. They contest a little bit earlier. Spell Shield goes out. Xenoblade still connects. Solar Flare on his head, and Mayfun's gone. Down for 20. Dragon on their doorstep. Easy as you like it. 4v2 in the bot lane. And Direwolves cannot match.
That just looks like frustration to me, Skimmy. It looked like Mayfan really wanted to fight there. He felt so strong. You know, look, his inventory has the Stride Breaker completed, and the fact that, you know, Shiki wasn't looking for that flash engaged initially before Jovi did roam down was, you know, something that's questionable, because it felt like Direwolves wanted to kill them there, but they just did not pull the trigger. And then, you know, when Jovi did roam down, Mayfan gets caught out of position in one shot.
Into a pause,
He's
which
mad.
is a fantastic time, Telly. If you continue story time, get your analysis in there before we go into another replay with another fight, with more play-by-play, and you go up. You know, forget about it, guys.
Just make noises at that point. Get call it talking mid-sentence. Oh, so exciting.
It's the best, honestly. Like, if we could make English sound as good as, like, you know, the Spanish commentators, the Korean commentators, where they're all just screaming and shouting, oh, that would be the dream. But I swear, if we do it, it just sounds very, very cringe.
Very cringe indeed. But quite a slow game this time. We're only seeing action around that top side of the map, around the turret. I think that, you know, you did mention that it's surprising they're losing that, you know, 2v2 of the Renekton Nidalee, but their biggest counterpart is that top lane turret, because it is the one that has done the most damage to them in these fights. So, honestly, well played by Chungi to use his advantage that he garnered in these, you know, early skirmishes to help Emphis, because I think that mid lane will look a lot different to what it is right now. It's only a slight lead going in the favor of Shovi, but this whole time Emphis has been building for his items straight away, right? He hasn't been building for those laning items like the Sork shoes, or, you know, something that gives him a bit of help in that lane phase. He's going straight for the you know, first item completed, because he wants his power strike as soon as possible. But, you know, look at Jovi's items, full components, tier 2 boots, and he's not going to have that same power when this Orianna does come online.
And that becomes my next question, right? When can we expect to see action in Game 2? Do you think it's going to follow the same timeline as Game 1, where it was all about, you know, 2-3 items before they really up the ante? I suppose even more so now that Direwolves are very much about, okay, when is Katsuri keen to fight? Because that seemed to be that disconnect before, where Nocturne wanted to go in, they didn't.
I would say, all the time. I think that the main engage tools in the Sejuani and the Rel are, quite strong. Well, the Sejuani in itself is strong, the Nocturne is strong, so I see Direwolves just always wanting to fight. The carries can always match their opponents, so they're going to be doing the same output. But, the major difference right now is the fact that Nocturne and Sejuani are really strong, whereas, Nidalee, extremely far behind. All she's really going to offer in these fights is a heal and, some, a very minimal amount of damage onto these members diving in. But I think they're going to see foot on the pedal when it comes to these objectives, and I want to see Shinki using that flash because, we are getting into this game quite deep and not a lot of action is happening on that bot side, but neither one of these supports have roamed around the map yet and really started to impact the game.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, it's been a bit of a stalemate with really the junglers being the most active. Emphas enduring the pressure that Jovi's providing, top lane flourishing, and then Chongi getting to showcase the champion he's been preparing for this lane swap, and obviously fantastic success so far. 4-1 on the champion. Yes, we're not going to get treated to the true AP build. I mean,
Ooh,
at this stage,
we don't know.
Looks like he's gone for the Sun Fury to start off with, so I'm almost wondering, are we just going all the way down the rabbit hole of being an absolute juggernaut tank? Or, is there room to try and wiggle in more items? Because it looks to me as if it's like, you get your Sunfire, you've got your Warmogs, Frozen Heart, GG.
He is so fed, right, Skimmy? So he can do whatever he wants. Like, one of the nice things
True.
about, Sunfire is the fact that you can just build it as, a bridge item. You can just use that as that laning item, that gives you a bit of wave clear. And then, he might go for Leandries into... I can't remember, was it Rylai's? I'm trying to think of the Sejuani build off the top of my head.
Oh, the Sejuani build? Yes. Let's go quickly. Yeah, like Rylai's. I think Rod of Ages can find its way in there, right, for a little bit of tankiness. But it's probably some of your tanky items, right? Maybe like a Morello's or a Banshees, anything else to continue to be like that pseudo battle mage.
Yeah, and there is like quite a few squishy members on the enemy team, so if that, Sejuani ult does connect onto the right members, it will do a lot of damage. So curious to see what he does go for, because, one of the nice things about being a tank and when you are fed is your base damage is extremely high, right? So you don't need to build damage items to one-shot people, especially when you have Ignite. So if he does find, multiple passive resets with that ult, he can one-shot these squishies anyway.
He certainly can. He's already demonstrated on a number of different occasions just how strong he can be. As back out of the pools, we go into the action. Is Jovi going to cop the fear? No, actually just break the tether at the very last second. Force Mayfarn right back to where he came from and says, look, all these grubs are ours. Chungi stole one beforehand, but on the second respawn, we're claiming everything.
So we see that, Emphas has gone to the bot side. He wants to get as many plates as possible, whereas Ion prioritized those grubs. And something to note right now is the fact that Chungi has teleport advantage over his counterpart in Doraemon. So if there is any contests that do happen on the bot side from Ion, there will be a numbers advantage for Direwolves. So very important that Ion do stick to that top side of the map. They play away from, don't cross the, I would say like the halfway point in the map, Skinny, is, because you're not too worried about getting teleported from behind when your outer towers are up. So you can still match, right? But you really do not want to play aggressive and engage when you are at that numbers mismatch.
And one thing I've also noticed as we go towards this next Drake fight is all these deep wards from Direwolves inside this half of the, Ion's jungle. Always looking for the flanking opportunities, always keeping tabs as to how they can rotate between mid and bot and find ways to punish. But this might be our first indication of a true 5v5 taking place. Doraemon doesn't have the luxury of a TP, but there is that flanking ward I just mentioned before. So the lights go out, we jump in with the Orianna, and it's as easy as that. Ori Nocturne does not miss. Shinki with a double on the rail, absolutely unheard of, but the AoE can simply not be matched. It was a 4v5 from the onset, and all four, they're gone.
And what an easy setup that was for Direwolves. That's like picture perfect. It's a very big mistake from Ion. You cannot, go for a play on the top side, walk back on top bot side. Do not disrespect, do not respect the TPs. It's the same thing as game one. The TPs is such a big deal. Even though they are the numbers distract, they already lost the fight just with this huge engage from Emphas and Mayfarn on that Ori Nocturne combo. So nice to see that they are practiced on that one. And Chungi is just going to itemize towards, like the Frozen Heart, because he is versing double 80 carries, and he's going to be so strong.
Which is exactly what I'm thinking right at this point. Why not just become as tanky as possible, be a menace, burn them down, and reduce their ability to fight back, right? A Corki and Zeri certainly want a little bit of attack speed up and available, but that has been diminished. Nice way for them to answer back then. So, second Dragon goes their way. They'll find themselves a tower. They've accrued now a 3,000 gold lead. And I think more so than anybody, it's a bit of vindication for Emphas, having been bullied for the last 14 minutes in the 1v1. Now he gets to be the hero. Yeah,
and, take stock of mid lane right now. As I was talking, Emphas was building straight towards his item, whereas, we do see Joby going for the tier 2 boots to play a bit more aggressive in lane because he can get the move speed to be able to outplay, you know, the point or like the spells that you need to avoid. So, you know, Orianna already completed her first time, whereas you look at Corki right now, he does have that KFC variety bucket and just has no strength when it comes to these team fights. He is very good at laning, but does not have the damage that Orianna does.
He just enjoys the finer things in life. You know, he's not ready to commit to any kind of meal. He just wants a little bit of everything whilst he, you know, gets his way into the late game of dinner, I suppose. That's a really scuffed analogy. You'll have to. I'll have to workshop that one.
A zinger box, a family feast, you know, a bit of everything. Doesn't really want to commit.
He's like, don't worry, guys. It's going to be good. Trust me. Trust my process. The Trinity Force will be there shortly. Look, the coal's already been complete, so he must be sitting on a boatload of gold as well, ready to upgrade something at this stage. But it's not about him right now, because it's Coley behind enemy lines, looking to make sure that that lane is protected, and that these 80 carries can continue to farm up a storm.
Skimmy, this is a very scary moment because, you know, you look at Chungy's items right now, Sunfire and Frozen Heart completed. There is, you know, no second item, no armor pen items coming out of either carry for the Ion side right now, and that solo AP threat in Italy is so far behind as well. And this is why it's so important you cannot fall behind on these champions, because all of a sudden there's this mega tank who can stack an insane amount of armor, but I'll hold my point because they never let me fall.
Oh my god, look how many ultimates were just chucked at Styx. Let the man move, let the man breathe. Suffocated by mid lane pressure. Hexflash, try as he might, soaked up the world and more, but it just wasn't enough.
What a nice rotation from Chungy, honestly. That's just a really good job. But once again, we see Ion still stepping up to fight this one, but they are not strong.
All they have, though, is the Nocturne combo with the Orianna, and that's what they'll use to fantastic success again. They might just get a clean ace with nobody dying in the process. No Katsuri falls it down. Doraemon, as the Dominus expires, he is no longer for the world. Back to Herald they go, and back to winning ways for the Wolfpack.
They are so good at this combo, Skinny. You know, I thought that Nocturne would have been too far out of range with the Orianna for that shockwave, but he does land that one once again onto both the, you know, crucial backline members. So Coley once again gets picked off by this Nocturne, and I keep mentioning both these junglers, they needed to get ahead in the early game, but we see one side has the, you know, the enabling factors in the Oriole, in that Sejuani passive to be able to fight, but Nilly doesn't. Nilly just fell behind, and look at this engage, fighting both the members again mid-air. It's so easy.
It's too easy, really. It's effortless at this stage, and we've seen this combo get outplayed in the past. Need to try and get just enough space with the flash up and available to break that one. Not easy to find, though. Hasn't been the case. And look, they're going to start to fall further and further behind. They've not had the strongest early game that they've been relying upon in their two carries, both Joby and Styx, lacking in comparison. And as you already mentioned there for Coley, the Nidalee Renekton dream hasn't come to the 15-minute start also that they would have been hoping for. Now, you just look at Mayfan's inventory and say, yep, you've got the Stride Breaker, you've now got the Hex Plate. That's a very happy Nocturne with 2 items already done.
That's a very fed man. And when we look at Ion right now, it's sort of a lights out situation until they get to those, you know, third items when they can start building those, you know, Lord Dominics to really deal with the amount of armor that the Sejuani is going to stack. But another big problem when it comes to that, Skimmy, is the fact that when they get to 3 items, all of a sudden Chungy's going to be 4, maybe even 5 items, just by the fact he is so far ahead of the curve when it comes to items right now. And Katsuri and Emphas also really strong, Mayfan really strong, Shinky really strong. Warmonk's being completed this early in the game. Usually used to seeing that one 22, 23 minutes, so he's also very far ahead of the clock. 15% move speed, very underrated stat to have as an advantage over your opponent. He's going to be able to move around the map so much faster than his counterpart.
Yeah, just so much posturing right from Direwolves. Just their mere presence alone is going to be enough to say, yep, we don't want any part to deal with this. And I think really now it starts to throw a bit of a spanner in the works to your draft prep, right? Whilst we saw both ban phases be pretty much identical, at least in the first half, maybe that is a real consideration. Is Sejuani an issue? It's been flexed. And is the Nocturne Orianna something we can respond to? Or does that need to be broken apart as well?
This is what I thought would come out in game 1, right? I thought the Sejuani was going to go to the top side because Mayfan on those, you know, melee junglers, like the, you know, pull out the Nocturne this time, but we've seen him have so much success on the Xin, the Vi, the Viego, even the Jarvan, just anything melee looks good on him. And then, you know, that's what Sejuani wants on the team, and that's what Emphas wants when he wants to play stuff like Orianna every game. They look so much better if they can get through the laning phase, get to the mid game. Their team fights look, you know, very nice.
They certainly do. 3 Drakes, 3k lead, 3, maybe just a magic number for them at this stage of the game, because 30 seconds for them to consider a Baron, but it's all about that all about those next 5 minutes, right, for that Dragon Soul Pointless. Mayfan has other ideas in mind. He's going to walk away from the Blast Cone, thinks he can just simply outmaneuver. The spear connects, the pounce is there, and in the end is forced to flash to Ready back to the river where his team is keen.
Yeah, Doraemon plays that one well by holding the the stun, the Ruthless Predator to bait out the spell shield and then find that lockdown to guarantee the spear. But Mayfan has that flash, so he escapes last second. But that's a little bit of a win for the Ion side. They are going to lose their mid tower to the Herald charge here. It's nice to always see the little mini game of the Shelly driving. Do you like the Rift Herald chain, Simi, or do you prefer just the old point and click one?
I'm a fan of this because I mean we've seen so many cool situations where people get ganked, they drop it, and that's their get out of jail free card, right? When they're pushing a side lane, if they're the ones who pick it up, or even when you've actually headbutt a tower in the mid lane, and then you can show your, do you have a driving license or not? Can you somehow maneuver it to bot lane and get a a 2-for-1 Zinger box deal?
Yeah, true. We haven't really seen the that. I would call the prowess of the Rift Herald usage in Oceania yet. I think in other regions we see it, used on mid lane, and then they pick it up again, and instead of charging that second turret, they use it to rotate to other lanes, which I think is a very underrated tool. Also, you mentioned like the escape tools on Rift Herald because you cannot stop the charge, right? And you need to do 6,000-7,000 damage to this objective when it's just running past you. It's just next to impossible. So it's a get out of jail free card. We've all seen the LPL edit, I'm sure. So that's a really nice use of the or the Rift Herald in general. But
we've seen people still stuck in their old ways as well, right? Trying to flash in front of the Rift Herald, and it's like, oh, you've just wasted that one, buddy.
True. There's still the, when Rift Herald was extremely strong, we always saw that Bard meta. Pick that one to deny the charge to make sure your mid tower stays alive, and whoever had that mid tower up longer ended up winning the game because it was all about control mages, and at that point, having your outer tower up makes the game so much easier. But we see that Ion's tower is down, and this is going to afford Direwolves more pride in the mid lane, more control, being able to walk into the enemy side and enable their side laners more, like right now.
There they go. It's the Orianna Nocturne bread and butter combo onto one man in particular. Take down Jovi. He's the focus, and he's got nowhere to run or hide. Left, right, good night. Emphas gets the kill. His second of the game, having an absolute blinder. Perfect KD80. Only person yet to drop.
Wait, okay. I'm not sure I'm understanding this combo correctly, but is there counterplay to that? Because it just feels like you press the button and you will get hit no matter what. But I'll hold that point as they are starting the Baron. There is, all the ults available for the rest of the members who are alive from Ion. This does do quite a bit of damage, and the engage is coming out to me.
It certainly is. In goes Hexflash, going to try and lead the line, lock down Emphas for as long as he can. Emphas is going to survive for the meantime, but Styx gets flanked upon. It's a chungy angle. He hits the TP Ignite and says goodbye to the Zeri. No 1v1 space gliding into Pentakill montage here today. Coley wants nothing to do with it. He'll leave the rest of his team to die. He is on a marathon sprinting out of here.
They do stop the Baron, but this will be that 2-for-4 trade, or 3-for-2 trade going in favor of the Direwolves. So they do come out of that one ahead. Kills during the Katsuri, though, is the major thing. I think this time, though, is completely fine to go for that full damage build because there's not much threat. But we do go into the replay. We see Hexflash go for the engage onto Emphas. He does get locked up, and this allows Doraemon to get to the backline and finally show that Renekton can take over these fights if he was enabled. And I think that it would have been a very different looking game if those top two skirmishes went a different way. This could have been the Coley show. This could have been the Doraemon show. But this game, it's all about Chungi.
That certainly is, and it almost feels like the vision control from Direwolves is that much better as well, because how many times have we seen them set up fantastic TPing flanks, getting away with murder, quite honestly, where the AD carries are thinking, yep, I'm safe, I'm good to go, only to then burn double summoners and still not survive.
Yeah, and I think that's a nice point to bring up. The teleports right now are the major defining factor or the difference that I have seen in these past two games. Direwolves just look so much more consistent in using their teleports and setting up for it. A lot of their plays around objectives and, post 10-minute mark when you can teleport to, non-turret. It's a lot more proactive on the Direwolves side. We haven't really seen the respect from Ion recognizing that they have teleport advantage or they can't stop a teleport or, in general, stepping past the halfway point. And I think that is a skill in itself that you really need to come to, or recognize that comes to fruition in competitive.
Well, they don't have long now, Tally, to look to try and salvage this game too and still be on the way for match point. 20 seconds now, 10 on that Dragon Soul point that Direwolves would be hunting for, but you can see them more so leaning towards the Baron, not wanting that to be snuck away from under them, as that really would be Ion's ticket back into this game. And it feels like if they can get the Soul point and they can then translate it into a big team fight win with the Baron on top of it, I don't see a world in which Ion can, take this. It's a game 3 angle by that point. This
is Soul point for Direwolves, you are correct right now, but they are hovering very heavily to the Baron. I'm not sure they really know about how broken this Soul is statistically, especially on something like a Nocturne or a Rel. Giving all that move speed to these champions is an insane buff to have in these team fights. So, seeing them hold for the Baron, it's still going to be a win for them if Ion does decide to go for the Dragon and give them the Baron. But with all this map control, with having 3 lanes of priority, it's all up to them what they really want, and right now they want to kill Joby on that side lane.
That they certainly do. Nice wave control, though, between the Corki and Nazeri to try and trim that as quickly as they can and prevent any combo from taking place again. You can see that pesky mid-jungle duo of Direwolves always lurking, waiting, seeing who decides to step up just a fraction too far past that halfway line. All that messing around means that, well, Direwolves have full control of the map. They've basically said, you know what, if you're not going to entertain anything, we will, as a two-man unit, get this dragon, get that soul, and give ourselves a huge, huge boost of uptime.
Now, I will say that there has been this whole lull state in the game. You know, Direwolves haven't pushed their gold lead any further. They've just been pushing 3 lanes. Ion have been catching 3 waves, so they are getting all this farm. They're not sitting away jungle camps. They're not, you know, pushing in and trying to make this lead as big as possible, because, you know, the more this game goes on, the more that Ion can build these items, get back into the game, because when the armor pen starts coming out of these members, they're going to be able to really deal with the Sejuani and, you know, finally get back into a stage where they might win the game, and that could be the Elder coming up in 5 minutes.
Does feel like we're working our way towards that right now. You can already see the Last Whisper being acquired here by Jovi. Wonder where Styx wants to go with his third item afterwards. Just imagine even more crit just to make sure that you are hitting like a truck, but everybody solely focused on the Baron itself. That's where the vision's planted. That's where the teams are playing towards, and that is really where they are laying the trap, are the Direwolves, that if you push up these waves to prep to give yourselves that fighting chance to do the dance with us, that combo is always going to hit.
And I would really want to see Direwolves use their corners, right? You know, throw out an Ash Arrow, get deeper vision, sit on your wards, right? Make sure when they do come back in to contest your vision, you're there to set a trap, because you have the ability to kill these members, and I think they're just playing a bit too scared right now. We do see them positioning around the Baron, and this could be a potential start for the members of Direwolves. The Ion side is coming in right now. There isn't going to be any TPs coming out because both top laners are in the middle fighting each other, but they still have that arrow, they still have that turn potential.
That they certainly do. They've got a lot of poke onto Katsuri, who has no sustain again. Where is the Bloodthirster? He's out of this fight. He has no summon to heal either. And that's enough for the entirety of Direwolves to say, yep, we can no longer fight this. Dungy says, not on my watch. I've done flanking TPs all game long. He can't be slowed and he can't be taken down. He is a titan at 7-1.
Yeah, and I think Direwolves are hesitating a lot here, Skimmy. They look, you know, too afraid to really, you know, put the foot on the pedal and just engage. We haven't seen Ash Arrow go out in almost, you know, 4 minutes. And I think that they need to start throwing this one out onto the Nidalee, even onto Leona. You know, Hex Splash will die because they do have that CC chain. You know, you can just pair that up with the, you know, the Rel lockup, the, you know, the fact that Orianna can do, you know, there's constant slows onto Champ. He has to flash or die pretty much at that state if an arrow does land. No one is safe from the engage out of the Direwolves side, especially if they are not grouped up to respond as a team.
And it feels like a very valid criticism, because if you look at the 3 carries on the side of Ion, their combined KDA right now is 0-11. Like, they're not strong by any stretch of the imaginations. They're going to try and keep par with the likes of Emphas and Katsuri, but it's a long hill, or a long road up the hill to try and achieve that glory, as Direwolves once again will say, well, back to the Baron, we're going to try and bait whatever we can find. If that's not successful, we'll just hit the combos. Sticks! Absolute terrorism there for him, because he can't do anything.
Yeah, and he's just taken out straight away. There is still a lot of ults available for Direwolves if they do want to turn up this Baron here. And here they go.
They certainly do. Looking at it, full CC chain onto Hex Splash. He drops the Solar Flare just before he perishes. They'll turn their attention onto one more, and they are a wrecking ball, are the Direwolves. They see a target, they group up, they shred you down. Shinky doesn't want to die. He wants to you know, protect that perfect KDA, even as the Rel. And they have lost nobody but taking down 2.
Have they done enough to get the Baron, though? Do they feel confident to absolutely, like, start this one up again? But looks like they really do not want to give over this mid turret. Getting back in onto Jovi, gonna look the lock up.
Yeah, the stun, the passive connects across the wall. Has he done enough to try and survive? No, just blasted in an instance there by Emphas. There is the finishing touch, the icing on the cake, if you will, by Katsuri. And it will be all 5 members dropping, and they go back to Baron once again.
Yeah, and I think that will definitely secure the Baron for themselves. This should be a very easy pickup, especially with Katsuri having so many items, but it still looks very shaky, Stim. You know, we look at Direwolves, they haven't pushed out a lot of this vision control that is on the side of Ion, and, you know, they aren't grouping up to really over-engage, but I think that Ion potentially looking for a contest here is a big mistake.
It's a very big mistake. The lights go out. That guarantees the Baron. There is no contest. Sticks with the focus. Mayfar's going to lock him in place with that fear. He can hit the cleanse, but it's too little, too late. He's even dead before the tether chain connects. It does not matter. Doraemon running for the hills like we've seen literally 30 seconds prior, and it is desperation beyond belief now.
Yeah, and this has just been, you know, pretty much utter decimation from the side of Direwolves since the 5-minute mark. But we haven't seen them, you know, completely end the game yet, and I think that this is probably because they're playing on so many lanes, right? But, you know, this is going to the replay, and once again we see that Nocturne Orianna combo on the stick has that flash, but, you know, cannot flash outside that Orianna ult range because Nocturne flies over the top of them. and allows the ult to really catch you off guard if you do flash that one out of position. But a very extended fight, and you know, as I mentioned, they engage onto Leona. He's locked up. It doesn't matter that he's a tank. You know, they have so much damage that this member does not live. But I think that something that's really important for Dials right now is the fact that you cannot spread your resources too thin, right? You know, if you want to get these objectives, you know, bring Chungi. Bring him to group up, run into enemy jungle, use that fat pig to just deny all the wards and, you know, sit in that jungle.
Because at this point, who kills Chungi? Honestly, it feels impossible. He's every single superhero from the Marvel Galaxy and more. And then Emphas dies instead. So you know what? That is a squishy target. A target without a Zhonya's, no stopwatch, no survival tactics. They will say, well, you can't get away with murder unless we take Quack 1-2. Jovi will perish for 50 seconds. Hex Flash not far behind him. And you're really wondering, at what point can Direwolves close up this game? Because Jovi and Styx are still, despite their KDA, are still finding increments.
Who wins, Skimmy? Thanos or Chungi on Sejuani?
Honestly, Chungi at this point, I mean, there's another movie just waiting to be picked up for sure.
He's got the Infinity Gauntlet items, you know, he's got the you can't kill me if you're an 80 carry build right now, and we only see the LDR coming out of Jovi, so no armor pen coming out of Styx, which I think is a big mistake. Should have gone for the LDR, you know, even second or third this game, you know, foregoing the Hurricane or the Infinity Edge, because he really needs the armor pen to deal with the front line of the enemy team, because this is such a strong, team comp they put together.
Yeah, meaning this is really Direwolves saying there is no way back into this game. We're just doing a little bit of mental damage right now, keeping you a prisoner in this for 10 minutes, even though you know the result is going against you. 10k gold lead. Baronet's about to expire in 30 seconds. Elder now picked up on top of all 4 dragons with the Cloud Soul to boot. I mean, how many more resources, how much more do you need to say we have hit max potential?
They have everything. They have Baron buff, they have all the dragons, they have the Elder. They should feel, you know, time to engage, okay?
I mean, Katsuri can literally be a tank. He can walk at you, and you just have to fear him. He doesn't care. He is the Gatling gun more so than the Corki. And there we go again with that Nocturne Ori combo. It's just so clean. It's just too easy. And this is definitely going to live rent-free in the minds of Iron, thinking we had match point. We were so close to running it back in back-to-back 2-0s, but not to be the case. Direwolves looking reinvigorated. The roster now at full potential, finding its pocket picks, and finding its success.
And this, you know, shut down the Jovi strategy that they keep bringing out is working so well for them. Both their side lanes are performing so well in both of these games. As long as Emphas is stable and enabled by his team to get through that laning phase, they can have these performances in that, you know, early mid game and into the late game, where we finally got to see those Elder pop-offs, Timmy.
That we certainly did. It came to life, and it showcased that this is a series. This is not a case of 2-0s, job done, move on to the next one. No, these teams are both fighting tooth and nail for absolutely everything. And it is going to come down to that game 3. And this is when the drafts get interesting in terms of side selection, as well as what needs to be denied. Not much has changed between game 1 and 2, but game 3 might be the chance to say that was too good and that cannot persist. We're going to go to one more quick break, and when we return, all of the action with game 3 to follow.